Hey, it's Reed Davis. I want to thank you very much for coming back for this segment. We're going to talk a little bit about environmental and neurotransmitter testing and what you might see as the damage done to the body by that. It's real important that we just quickly review that we've already done a saliva test and a urine test that give us a lot of markers indicating how you might be functioning or dysfunctioning, which, if you've listened to our work, you understand is going to lead to symptoms down the road. So these kind of stressors, these hidden stressors and dysfunctions will lead to malfunction, which leads to a disease process and produces symptoms. And as we've said many times already, all these kinds of hidden stressors and dysfunctions in one person cascade throughout the body will produce one set of symptoms, and in someone else, the exact same environment and everything will produce a different set of symptoms. And that's why treating symptoms is okay. You know, it wants you to feel better. But going back upstream to the original dysfunctions, that's the true key to getting healthy. And when you're healthy, you're happy. And so we're going to talk a little bit now about these environmental stressors. And you probably know this already, but there's 80,000 chemicals or more in the environment today. Only a few have been checked out for safety. It might be like 2,000 of them. So a small, tiny little fraction have been checked for safety. The rest are just being thrown out there. So in a sense, we're the rats, you know. Like, they may have been tested on rats, a few of them, but we're the rats in the big experiment. So sometimes what we do when we run up against a person who may have this chemical exposure, chemical toxicity, and we're talking about things like toluenes and benzenes, we're talking parabens, which is in a lot of products that we use on our bodies, and phthalates, you know, which basically drinking out of plastic bottles and all this sort of stuff. So you can run a test to see how much exposure you've had to that and how much might actually be absorbing into the body and how much you might be excreting from the body. So there's a real good test for that. It's the environmental pollutant panel. And again, it's a urine test, so it's pretty simple to do. Now, I think that's all I'm going to say about that. You can run a test to see how much exposure you have to these common chemicals. Again, most of the testing that's been done on just a small fraction of the chemicals that are in the environment, those tests are done on rats. And on all the rest, we're the rats. So we're just in this big experiment. Now, neurotransmitters is another area where people have breakdowns. There's just deficiencies. There's their body's not producing these things in the right way. And so there's a test you can do for that too. It's also a urine test. We call it an organic acids test. It's also known as a urinary metabolic profile. So there's ways you can get that down, urinary metabolic profiling. Now you might want to do something like that. And then there's another way to look at it too. Because in our investigation, we have to be very sensitive to that people don't want to run a whole big bunch of tests. I mean, for those of you that are willing, yeah, we'll run the tests on you, and you can learn how to do it on your clients, as you'll see coming up. But another thing you might just consider is running what we call the intestinal barrier function test. Now, this test is really critical as part of our investigation into hormone, immune, digestion, detoxification, and the damage done by environmental pollutants and chemicals and chemical toxicity, and also to see what's going on with your neurotransmitters, because many of the important ones are actually made in the gut. So the 304 is called the intestinal barrier function test, and it's real critical to understand what's going on inside the lining of your small intestine, the little fingers, the villi, and we want to know that they're absorbing food, but they're also, we want to know, are they rejecting and protecting you from these kind of assaults that come down the pipes. Now, we've all seen a dog drink dirty water and it doesn't get sick. Well, why is that? It's called the mucosal barrier or intestinal barrier. And so there's a way to test that. And one of the great things about our work is that we do this saliva, urine, saliva testing, so a couple saliva tests and urine tests, as a real good, solid, foundational, holistic, health building, health grounding program for people who really aren't medical or people who are medical conditions, in other words, they may have been diagnosed, but they're really only treating the symptoms. So if you have health issues, you want to make sure that you're dealing with the underlying causes and conditions, I think. And these are the kind of labs that you could run real quickly. You can run them on yourself, or you can learn how to run them on other people. And what I want you to do now is go below the little video here and make sure that you sign up for the next step, which is a little webinar. So go and do that right now, and then we'll have some other amazing things to teach you about functional diagnostic nutrition. So thanks for coming to our little vignettes here, our little videos on steps you might take to getting healthy. Thank you.